Confirmation bias, the tendency to filter information to select what conforms to one's preferences, and to reject what does not. Cognitive bias, the tendency to acquire and process information by filtering it through one's likes and experiences, and to ignore what one does not like or has not experienced. The believers automatically reject anything that does not conform with their beliefs, and accept without question anything that seems to support them. It's truly terrifying that our world is full of people relentlessly applying mental filters to get rid of what they don't want to hear while pandering to everything they desperately want to believe is true. Confirmation and cognitive biases ensure that our world is supremely irrational. Most people live in absolute denial about the true nature of reality. Their theory of mind might as well be called their theory of fantasy and delusion. Human beings haven't applied theory of mind just to their fellow human beings but also to trees, mountains, lakes, winds, rains, storms, thunder, lightning, the seasons, the sun, the planets, the stars, cartoon characters, their pet dogs, and so on. Above all, they have applied theory of mind to a being plucked from their ultimate fantasies, God. God is the supreme enabler of the most egregious confirmation bias. When the Jews were conquered, humiliated and enslaved by their vastly more powerful Babylonian enemy, an outcome that any rationalist would have predicted, the Jews, in their captivity, reached an entirely different conclusion. They were defeated, they said, not because they came up against a superior force, but because they weren't Jewish enough and had let down their God by engaging in pagan polytheistic practices rather than adhering to strict monotheism. In other words, the Jews ignored every conceivable facet of the situation and analyzed it wholly from the perspective of their Jewish beliefs. Given that the creator of the universe was on their side, via a binding covenant, they could not conceivably have been beaten by the pagan Babylonians. Therefore, they must somehow have broken the covenant, which had caused their God to abandon to them their fate. To restore the covenant, they had to get rid of all the pagan elements that had displeased Jehovah. And thus fanatical and deranged Jewish monotheism was born, and it has infected the world with its madness ever since. Note the defining character of Judaism, attribute, via the theory of mind, a consciousness to a non-existent being, the creator of the universe. Then, via confirmation and cognitive bias, analyze every fact of the world from the perspective of what the Jewish God would think about it. This is the purest magic thinking and it bears no relationship to reality. The Jews, with their endless mad messiahs, including the man called Jesus Christ, genuinely believed they could defeat the Roman Empire, one of the greatest and most brutal military machines of all time. Once again, they were utterly crushed, and this time irrevocably expelled from Palestine. They didn't return until 1948, by kicking out the Palestinians. If any Jews were rational, they would reach the obvious conclusion: they are not the chosen people, they have no promised land, there is no Jewish God, and every single belief they have cherished for thousands of years is 100% false. The only special thing about the Jews is the sheer scale of their delusion and refusal to face facts, and it was these ingredients that infected its two miscarriages: Christianity, Greek Judaism, and Islam, Arab Judaism. Even today, Muslim terrorists yell Allahu Akbar when they fire an RPG, as if they expect Allah to personally direct the rocket to its target. If the rocket misses, it's not because their aim was poor but because they were defective Muslims, so Allah refused to help them. Rationally, the only conclusion that Osama bin Laden could ever have reached when analyzing the power of the USA versus the power of the entire Islamic world, was that America could eliminate the whole lot of them if it really wanted. Instead, like the insane Jewish messiahs who believed they could beat the hyperpower of Rome, the America of its time, bin Laden thought that if he could carry out some spectacular symbolic attack on America and fill the whole Islamic world with courage and faith, Allah would grant them supreme victory over the great Satan and all the infidels. Well, that turned out well, didn't it? All over the world, religious cranks and maniacs continue to think in this way, that has no possible connection to reality. These people do not live in the real world. They live in a religious hyperreality, a complete fantasy world where conclusions, based on cherished beliefs, precede facts, evidence, and reason. When Martin Luther, the first Protestant, declared, "Reason is the devil's whore," he crystallized all religious thinking down the ages. Religion despises reason. Reason gets in the way of confirmation and cognitive bias. You cannot believe if you wait for evidence, facts, rational arguments, and theories to precede your conclusions based on what you want to be true. Let no believer ever dare to claim to be rational.